Member of Parliament for North Tongue Samuel Ablakwa has accused the Ministry of Education of being complicit in the alleged repackaging and distribution of expired rice to senior high schools across the country. The Ministry of Education, in response to the expose by the Chairman of Parliament's Assurance Committee that about 22...
The Ministry, for the record, we did not have the responsibility of distributing or supplying food to school. That is the sole mandate of buffer stock and GCX, and as such we have contacted them and have also commenced a joint investigation with them. We assure the experience, guidance and the public of the ministry's commitment in making sure that we protect the health and safety of our students.
So that's the spokesperson for the Ministry of Education, KWESI. But a non-term member of Parliament, Samuel Ablakwa, will not take that. He says the Education Ministry is complicit and thus investigations into the scandal must be conducted by an independent body.
A full report that the FDA conducted on this report exposes the Ministry of Education statement saying that this has come to their notice for the first time by me, that they commend me and that they are going to commence criminal investigation. Can we be honest? This FDA report exposes the Ministry of Education. This is a report signed by the head of the FDA Ashanti region, John Laye Odai Tete. It says report on a preliminary investigation on alleged unauthorized rebagging of rice by the National Buffer Stock. The findings outlined below were arrived at during the preliminary investigation at the storage facility, as well as a meeting held with the Deputy Education Minister, Honorable Reverend John Intim Fojo. So why is the Ministry of Education saying that if I didn't put out this expose, they didn't know? Unless the ministry wants to tell us that Reverend Intim Fojo didn't bring it to the attention of his boss and did not appear before this committee in his official capacity. Unless that's what they want to tell. And it continues. And two representatives of the importer, Lamens Investment Africa Limited, namely Eli Dogbe, Operations Manager, and Simon Ejay, Ashanti Regional Coordinator, they were all on site. They were initially arrested, and the order came from above that they should be released. The National Buffer Stock Company, the CEO, Abdul Wahab, must not get away parliamentary candidate in Pusiga. He has questions to answer. You know the board is chaired by Nanabi, the MPP national organizer. They have questions because they opened their facility. They conspired with Laments for the rebagging. It took place in their facility. And then they haven't registered this facility. They failed to call the FDA to supervise as required by law. And it continues. Whilst the best before date on the Moshosho rice was December 2023, there was no date on the new bags being used for the repackaging. Additionally, the country of origin, India, had been changed to Ghana, thus concealing the identity of the rice. The repackaging exercise was carried out without FDA's approval nor supervision. The storage facility had neither been licensed for storage nor for repackaging. The facility had no qualified trained person to supervise its activities. According to the operations manager, 11,000 metric tons of rice was received in February 2022. This has been confirmed by 2 bills of lading attached. The consignment was originally kept in a bonded warehouse in Tema, Limbrook, due to issues with tariffs. And lawless, Carlos, Medros, and as we speak, since February, nobody has been held accountable. When I spoke to the heads of the schools, they told me that typically these supplies can stay in the storage facilities for about 4 or 5 months, sometimes 6 months, before it's all consumed. So if by January, February, FDA certified examinations in analysis shows that this food was contaminated in January, February, you can imagine by the time children are consuming this in March, April, May, June, July, because we all know that the longer it stays, the worse the contamination level. And this is what we are doing to our children. And nobody has been held accountable. That is why I insist that we need an independent, impartial investigation. The heavy political pressure brought to bear that this rice should be distributed came from the Ministry of Education. And I know exactly who did that, because the ministry is complicit. We can set up a special committee or a commission of inquiry to look into independent people, outsiders, or maybe OSP, but not the Ministry of Education. Well, this afternoon I'll be lodging a formal complaint with the police to arrest the Laments directors and invite the buffer stock people.
Honorable Ablakwa also revealed the grand scheme behind the scandal.
The release of the rice to the various schools, the various headmasters who signed. You have company name, Laments Ventures Enterprise, then the signatories of those who received it. This is for St. Monica SHS, Mampong, received 1st February 2024. 520 bags of the 50 kg Moshosho rice repackaged. My own alma mater, sadly, PAA Legon, they received 1,093 bags on the 2nd of February this year. So PAA is the central warehouse for Greater Accra. So when PAA receives, they share with all the secondary schools in Greater Accra. Accra Academy, Achimota, Accra Girls, Laboni, Chemu, Tema, all of them will pick their supplies from PAA. Then I also have here the signed sheets of Konongo Edumasi Senior High School, who received theirs for schools in the Ashanti region. By the 6th of February 2024, the FDA results come in. So they had released the rice, distributed to our schools so recklessly, so callously, without knowing the outcome of the test result. So 4 days after, the test results arrive from the FDA. The certificate of analysis shows that the rice was unwholesome. It had a high percentage of the presence of insects, according to the FDA, is here. And it does not conform to standards. The analyst is here: Mary Vivian Hammond, Mariana Kome, Joseph Ofosu Siam. They've all signed. The FDA analysis also shows that the rice had a high fat acidity. So I brought in medical doctors to analyze these FDA test results. And what they told me, very frightening, that this is rice that should not even be given to animals. That the consequences are dire. It can even lead to liver cancer. That this should have been destroyed. Unfortunately, they didn't wait for the FDA examination results. They had already fed our students with these 22,000 bags of expired, contaminated food. I have intercepted their original internal memo of 29 December 2023, where their legal department recommended 3 things that should happen. 1, immediately they should stop the repackaging exercise. 2, contact the office of the FDA to initiate the process of safe disposal of the 15,000 bags of rebagged rice. So they wanted the 15,000 bags destroyed. Then 3, fine the company Lamens 150,000 Ghana cedis. This was the original recommendation. This recommendation also changed to a reduced fine of 100,000, and then they said they will await FDA result. Okay. You see what we do to the Made in Ghana effort. If these children eat that rice they saw Made in Ghana, they keep falling sick and they graduate and they don't want to go near Made in Ghana rice, then you turn around and attack Ghanaians that we are not patriotic. We don't go for Made in Ghana.
As the Member of Parliament for Northong, Chairman of Parliament's Assurance Committee, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, he's talking about the repercussions or the health implications in consuming this unwholesome, expired, insect-infested, high fat acidity rice that's according to that survey or investigation by the Food and Drugs Authority. Dr. Shiraz Isahako is a medical physicist with the Radiological and Medical Sciences Research Institute of Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, also Kolebu Teaching Hospital as well. We are privileged for him to join us on the line for this discussion. Doc, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time tonight on 505.
Yeah, good evening, Valentina, and good evening to your listeners.
Medically, food, drinks, or consumables, when there's an expiry date, when is it safe for humans to consume?
Unfortunately, from day one, even a day or two before the expiring date, is no longer safe for consumption.
Okay. So in this case, the rice expired December 2023. It was rebagged, distributed to students in February. It had to stay for, let's say, 6 months before they finished consuming it. What are the health implications in consuming expired rice?
It's actually a very serious problem. I'm actually shocked to hear such a thing that it's happening in Mother Ghana. The implications are there. Mostly there are those food that are expired have toxins, and those toxins can have significant damage to our internal organs.
Okay.
including the liver and the intestines.
Okay. So if you say we have some damage to internal organs, liver and the rest, let's appreciate the damage. What kind of damage is that?
So mostly when the foods are expired, there's likelihood that there's some toxins that will actually develop in the food. And when you consume toxins, what it means is that you are consuming chemicals that will react with your system, and that will lead to a damage to the cells within the tissues.
Does it happen immediately, or there's some time frame that these work?
So there are two concerns. You will have immediate reaction where you may have vomiting, diarrhea, and so on and so forth. And there can be a long term where there's a likelihood that along the line, those toxins will generate, and then the damage to the tissues can be have long-term effects.
Okay. So in other words, it means that you can consume it today, you might not have immediate reaction, but you would have the repercussions later on in life.
That's a possibility.
Okay. So in this case, from the research or analysis done by the FDA, this rice is unwholesome. It has high insects and high fat acidity. Please explain to us what high fat acidity is.
So the body is supposed to be neutral. In fact, we have what we call acid and base. The body is supposed to have a neutral in between the two. But within the tummy, there's some level of acidity that is used to help in digestion. Now, when you eat food that has very high content of acidity, the effect is that the body itself will become, it will lose the natural neutral effect and now become acid in nature, and that can have effect on your intestines and including your abdomen.
So the resultant effect is what?
The resultant effect is that there may be damages to those who consume the food that may happen later in the future, or maybe have that effect now.
The part of insects, well, some people will say because the food is raw, you boil it, you wash it, so the insect part can be dealt with. Does it solve the problem?
So no, when we talk of food, there are two levels. Those that are bacteria that you can cook and they will die. And then there is chemicals. You can't cook and kill a chemical. You can only convert it from one form to another form. It will not be able to. You will not die.
So as a medical practitioner, what do you suggest should be done? Yes, the education ministry says they are investigating the matter. And from what we know in the documents, the food has already been distributed to the senior high schools across the country. The students have consumed it. What should be the immediate action or reaction to this?
They quickly should monitor all those who consume the food and samples taken for laboratory analysis. Otherwise, if they leave it and they assume that there is no problem, there may be later effect on those who consume the food.
Okay. So all the students, but can we monitor all students and take samples of all students across the country?
Yes, it's possible. We can take what we call random sampling and then try to see the possibility of the effect that will be on the children. But if for any reason you have your child, I just hope my child's school was not passed. If there's a possibility that you have a child, then there's a need for you to monitor the child for a while.
You said you hope your child's school is not part of this. To all senior high schools across the country.
That is totally unfortunate. I really feel bad for this situation.
Okay.
I hope those concerned will show much more concern for the children and the health of the people who consume the food. Okay.
Now, what about those whose actions or inaction has led to this unfortunate scandal?
Yes, this morning I think I listened to your media station and I heard the Ministry of Education, I think the spokesperson, trying to explain things out. I don't think this is the time for us to explain things. There's a need for health care concern, and those who consume the food must be helped. And if those who cause the children to consume the food and need to be quickly apprehended and then made to face the full regards of the law.
Doc, very grateful that